These are the worst diseases from every time period, starting with the Stone Age. Bacterial diseases, which had a super high chance of killing you back then. You can get them from germs like Neisseria meningitidis, which usually lives quietly in people's throats and noses, but if it sneaks into the body, it can cause a serious illness called meningitis. It can spread through saliva, sneezing, or coughing. Things like close living or even kissing were enough to pass it on. Today, it's still very dangerous. Even with proper medical care, about 10 to 15% of people die, and without treatment, the death rate can be as high as 50%. In the Stone Age, there were no vaccines or antibiotics. People either died or survived without medical help until modern science in the 1800s and 1900s finally identified the germ and developed treatments and vaccines. Yersiniosis is a disease which leads to fever, belly pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. Scientists found its DNA, making it the earliest known case about 6,500 years ago in what is now Denmark. Today, most people get better on their own, but sometimes, especially young children or people with weak immune systems, can get very sick or even have the bacteria spread into their blood. It likely caused many illnesses in groups living close together, so people who became very sick either died or recovered without treatment. It wasn't until much later, after scientists first identified the germ in 1939 and treatments and food safety measures were developed, that yersiniosis began to be prevented and cured. Now let's move on to the Bronze Age. Anthrax is a serious illness that has a super high chance of killing you. When the bacterium called Bacillus anthracis gets into your body through a cut in your skin, being breathed in, or eating contaminated meat, they can turn into bacteria that make powerful poisons. These poisons attack your body's cells, hurt your lungs or gut, cause swelling, and can make you very sick or even cause death. The bacterium comes from animals like cows, goats, or sheep. Anthrax is very deadly. Without medicine, up to 80% of people who breathe in the spores die, and up to 60% die from stomach infections. Even skin infections can kill about 20% of people if untreated. It's estimated that many thousands of people have died from it during all these years. In the Bronze Age, there was no doctor office that you can ask for medicine, so most people died from it. It wasn't until the 1800s that doctors developed animal vaccines, and later in the 1900s, human vaccines and antibiotic medicines that could treat or prevent anthrax effectively. Tularemia is a disease that will give massive open sores that could kill you. When the bacterium Francisella tularensis gets into the body, it usually starts with a fever, but it can get much worse than that. Even today, about 15% of people who don't get medicine die from tularemia, which makes it quite serious. We don't know exactly how many Bronze Age people died, but historical texts say kings and many people in Hittite lands died, and the plague lasted literal decades, so it must have killed thousands over time. Back then, there were no antibiotics, so the disease wasn't really stopped. It wasn't until the early 1900s that scientists discovered what the hell this disease was, and much later, modern doctors started using antibiotics to cure it. Next era is the Middle Ages. Bubonic plague, one of the deadliest diseases on this entire list. Bubonic plague is caused by a germ called Yersinia pestis, and when it gets into your body, usually through a flea bite, it travels to your lymph nodes, which are like little filters in your body, and makes them swell into painful lumps called buboes. It can bring you a very high fever, vomiting, and sometimes bloody cough, or gangrene in fingers, toes, or nose, which can last a long time. Scientists think this germ came from wild rodents, like rats or marmots in Central Asia around the Tian Shan Mountains, and it spread to humans through fleas. In the Middle Ages, especially during the Black Death of 1346 to 1353, it was extremely deadly. If people didn't get treatment, it could kill between 30% and 90% of those infected. That outbreak is estimated to have killed about 25 million to 50 million people in Europe, around a third to over half of the European population at the time. It wasn't fully stopped until scientists discovered the germ in the late 1800s, and modern treatments like antibiotics and sanitation measures were developed in the 20th century. Smallpox is a viral disease which could lead to complete blindness. After a few days, small round bumps called pustules appear on your skin. They're filled with fluid and have a dent in the middle. These bumps cover your face and body, scab over, and then fall off. often leaving big scars and sometimes causing blindness. The virus that causes smallpox, called variola, first appeared a long time ago. Archaeologists even found signs of it in Egyptian mummies around 1500 BCE. By the Middle Ages, it was spreading across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Smallpox was very deadly. In the Middle Ages and later, between 20% and 60% of people who got the worst form of the disease died, and even the milder form still killed about 1% of its victims. And in the 1700s, it killed around 400,000 Europeans every year. Smallpox didn't end in the Middle Ages. It kept coming back. Until 1796, Edward Jenner used cowpox to make the first vaccine, and after that, doctors slowly used vaccination and isolation to stop outbreaks. Finally, in 1980, the World Health Organization declared smallpox completely gone from the world. Now to the modern era. HIV/AIDS. HIV is a virus that attacks your body's defense system by destroying special cells called CD4 cells that help fight off other germs. Over time, the immune system becomes too weak to protect the body, leading to AIDS, where you can get very serious infections or diseases instead of fighting them off. HIV originally came from chimpanzees in Central Africa, where a virus called SIV jumped into humans, likely when people hunted or butchered chimps, sometime in the late 1800s to early 1900s. HIV/AIDS is very serious. If someone doesn't get medicine, they might die in about 11 years, but with treatment, people can live long, healthy lives. Since doctors first saw the disease in the 1980s, about 44 million people have died from AIDS-related illnesses since it started. In 2023 alone, roughly 630,000 people died, and 1.3 million became newly infected around the world. While this disease hasn't ended, it was brought under control through modern medicine in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Scientists discovered special drugs called antiretroviral therapy that stop HIV from growing in the body. Today, over 31 million people get this treatment, which keeps most of them healthy and greatly lowers deaths. Lastly is the most recent disease that came to everyone's radar. COVID-19 is a virus called SARS-CoV-2 that attacks your body's breathing system. It first enters your nose and throat, then sometimes gets into the lungs, making it hard to breathe. It can also affect your heart, kidneys, and brain, causing symptoms like fever, cough, loss of smell or taste, and in severe cases, pneumonia or blood clots. This virus came from bats and jumped to humans in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. It has affected over 700 million people worldwide. Overall, it caused between 18 million and 33 million deaths worldwide, but experts estimate the real number is higher. The pandemic officially started in March 2020, and the global emergency was declared over in May 2023 by the WHO and US authorities. It was ended through a combination of fast testing, vaccines, public health measures, and people getting immune from infection. By mid-2023, the worst was over. However, COVID-19 still caused massive damage. Millions of people got sick, many died, and it disrupted life everywhere. Schools closed, travel stopped, and it hurt the economy by having the economy needing to spend $16 trillion dealing with it, which also includes just keeping everyday people afloat. And many still suffer from long-term effects like tiredness or trouble thinking.